So
Now, let's speak about varieties. Barossa has invested quite a bit in marketing the fact that Shiraz is associated with the region. Now, you do make Syrah-based wines, but you have a whole plethora of other varieties that I find quite fascinating. You do Riesling, which has been around in the Eden Valley for a long time. You do
yeah,
Chenin, which some people don't know exists down there, but I have tasted a couple of great ones. You've got some Trousseau, I think, and Mourvèdre, I believe.
yeah, yeah. So we lost the Mourvèdre when we moved from our other farm at
Oh no.
Seppesfield.
Okay. All right.
But so the Barossa, people also forget the Barossa was founded on a region that was making fortified and sherries. So
Yeah.
fortified wines and sherry to send back to Europe. Um, they lost a lot of that in the 80s when people's palates changed a little bit. And we pulled a lot of the beautiful old vineyards out, but there's still some really stunning vineyards that remain. A lot of those vineyards that are there are like old clones of Grenache,
Mhm.
Shiraz, Riesling, Semillon, Chenin Blanc, Mugata Petit Grain. There's some Pedro Ximénez. Most of the Palomino is gone, but a lot of those varieties were great for making
Portofino.
fortified wines. They haven't been. Some of the Grenache is not as good for making dry red wine, but it's stunning as a rosé based.
Okay.
Just the flavor profile, how it works. So you've got to try and find a home for some of these older vineyards. And we started a project saving old vineyards from being pulled out and working with growers to pay them what they would get for Shiraz if they were to pull the vineyard out and plant Shiraz, to try and get them to keep it in the ground so that in time when there was a glut of Shiraz, which we're in at the moment, we lost China as a market three or
Ah,
4 years
yes.
ago.
Yeah.
And so that's put a fair bit of pressure on the valley. They're trying to find another flagship variety. And I think a really great way to do it would be to diversify things like Cinsault, Grenache Gris, Grenache Blanc. There's a lot of interest in those varieties, Macabeo even, that can grow
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
warm climates. If you sort of lift your head up and wander around and have a look around in the areas of like sort of Catalan and Corbière at the base of the Pyrenees in France, where they've got these beautiful old vineyards of like Carignan, Cinsault, Macabeo. You look at those warm climates where those varieties are actually growing okay, and you think, wow, they could actually work here
Yep.
really beautifully. So rather than having a variety like Syrah, which has grown in what was quite a cool climate in the Northern Rhone and worked really well there, maybe it's not the best variety to make wines with here. Maybe this is a great time to diversify and get back to the small garden plots that used to exist in the Barossa when it was all small family owned properties. As those families have sold out, the properties have got larger and larger, and so it's a lot more mechanized the system. But I think we make more than half our wine is Shiraz, but none of it's red. I think that's not true. We make out of probably the 50,000 bottles we make,
Mhm.
we might make 3 or 4 thousand bottles of red wine. The rest is white and pink. So, and across those reds, we have Cinsault, Cabernet Franc, and a little bit of Syrah.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
it's
All
sort
right.
of a very small patch of red stuff that we're working with, and we're making a lot of pink things and white things. We make wines that we want to drink, and then hopefully we find enough people around the world we want to share with, want to
Indeed.
share them with.
Indeed. Now,
Uh,
on one
yeah. So
following
if they
one.
can diversify in the valley, now's the time to do it. Now's a great chance to really change things and not. Every time you have a monoculture, you run into problems, right? We
Yeah.
used to have a lot of orange trees in Australia. We pulled nearly all our orange trees out, and now we buy concentrate from California. So there's a lot of farming's a bit like that, like it's sort of instead of everyone doing one thing, we should all be trying to diversify a little bit so that there's a diversity out there. Also, the way we plant things, like the valley now is a lot of vineyard. It could do by changing things a little bit and planting some orchards and moving back to food production, growing gardens of salad and potatoes and things like that. Move a little bit away from just having only vineyard. It's not a great option, I don't think. But we'll see. We'll keep talking to people and see if we can make a change.
When I was doing some research, I was reading an interview with you, and you were talking about is it Yarra wood?
Jarrah. So Jarrah is a tree. It's a redwood tree from Western Australia.
Yes.
In the early days in Australia, a lot of it's big, tall, straight hardwood trees. So class 1 hardwood. A lot of them were cut to make railway line sleepers. Yeah. So
I have a connection to Jarrah, and that was what jarred my memory. I worked in a restaurant in Edinburgh where I earned my sommelier stripes, and we had Australian Jarrah wood. I thought it was Jarrah wood railway sleepers that had been used in ballast in boats coming back over to the UK, and then made into our dining room tables. They're still part of a restaurant in Edinburgh called, I've forgotten its name, the Timber Yard. Yes, it's
yeah. That was owned by Joe and his family.
Yes, well, I used to work for them 28 years ago.
Oh wow! Okay,
so I worked for his dad, Andrew Radford.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. I didn't realize his dad had started it. So we met Joe many years ago when he started him and his partner at the time started the Wild Wine Fair that they were doing there.
Yes, yeah.
So but great. Yeah. So anyway, Jarrah. So we managed to find an old cellar, this beautiful old gravity fed cellar. All instead of having hoses, they had glass pipes that would funnel all the spirit winery.
I see. Yeah, for the fortified stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. The floors were all they had drains set up. So instead of having a pipe, you would open up the valve at the bottom of a concrete vessel, and the liquid would drain onto the floor and work its way down through the building into another vessel. So they had all these ways of moving things with gravity down the hill from fermentation right down to élevage. And so they were aging in a lot of these big, like 10,000 litre Jarrah vats that had been built. So trees that were 600 or 700 years old. I think the vineyard there was planted in 1852 or 53, and the cellar was built in 1860. So you're talking about, timber that's already 150 odd years old that they were going to turn into tables. So we managed to rescue a whole lot of that and start turning it back into some timber fermenters.
Now, what kind of porosity does Jarrah wood have?
It's sort of a medium porosity. It's not as dense as oak.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's not as porous as, say, something like mulberry or cherry. Like it's sort of like a bit more like acacia, I suppose. It's sort of somewhere in the middle, but you do have to be pretty careful with it. It does breathe quite a lot, so you need to be careful.
Does it have a sappy nature to it? Does it impart any kind of flavor? Have you found, even with it being of that?
Yeah. So anything you ferment in other than glass will give you a character. Stainless steel, timber, plastic, ceramic, they all give a texture or a flavor to a wine. Yes, it does. It sort of seems to be, it's hard. I don't know exactly how to explain the flavor. It sort of has a combination with the porosity, so you get a bit more oxidation. So you're building wines that are slightly fatter in the palate.
Yeah.
Not really tasting oak or Jarrah though. It's sort of more to do with the porosity, but there's still a character there that I don't know how to explain. It's not a timber character. It seems to be more of this sort of like, it's like a type of bitterness it gives.
Oh, right. So, which of your wines benefit the most from the Jarrah treatment?
We were finding whites, so Semillon was really good. Okay. We've actually stopped using them for aging still wine, and we've started to use them to age vermouth base. So we've got a little bit of red gum from Australia and a little bit of Jarrah, which we use as our vermouth aging vessels, but they're large, so it's a really long, slow project. There's some other people using them to make whiskey in Australia now too, so they've done some charring of cask and they're storing whiskey in them as well, and the results have been pretty good. Very good, actually. Very good.
Well, I've been keeping you on this interview for quite a long time. I apologize about that. Just had a
No,
lot
no,
to
that's
talk
all right.
about.
Not a problem. Yeah,
When
yeah, not a problem.
when do you think you'll make your way over to Toronto?
I've got a very dear friend who lives in where's he? He's in Ottawa.
All right,
So
okay,
I've
not
got
so
to
far from
come
here. Yeah.
and, yeah, I've got to come and see him at some point in the next 2 years. So I will definitely be in Toronto in a couple of years. I haven't been to Toronto yet. I've been to Ottawa a couple of
Oh,
times,
all right,
but I
okay.
need to get across to Toronto and say hello. So I'm hoping within 2 years I'll be there.
Superb. Well, I'll
That's the
get
plan.
Mark Cuff to give me a heads up when you're coming into town. It'd be great to raise a glass with you.
Yeah, oh, it'd be great to see him. I think he's over here in November, so we'll probably start. I'm going to see him while he's here, try and stir him up a little bit, and see if we can work something out to have a bit of a
Fantastic.
laugh
Excellent.
while we're over your way. So, yeah, it
Hey,
should be great. Catch up face to face and tell more stories. So,
that would be lovely. Thank you very much for your time today. It's nice to know that we know some people in common over there in Edinburgh.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
and
Give Mark a kiss when you see him.
yes, I shall. Now,
Yeah,
have yourself a great day, and thanks for your time today.
great. Lots of love. Thanks,
Take
Jamie.
care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.